Sir, Tyagi sir will not be able to join us today. So,
Okay,
yes, sir. So I would request Mr. Fahim Khan, sir, for like vote of thanks. We can do that.
okay.
सर वोट ऑफ थैंक्स आप दे दीजिएगा. सॉरी.
Okay.
Sir, namaskar. Everybody, good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am. Good
Welcome,
evening.
well,
Uh,
good evening. Welcome, Dr. Ritu Bhardwaj. Hearty welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Very happy you are here.
Yes, sir. I
Hearty
am.
welcome.
Thank you so much, sir. I am here.
Ma'am, we shall be starting the session very soon. We are just waiting for the rest of the guests.
No
Thank you for
problem. No
joining.
problem.
Yes.
Uh, Justice Parsoon and Professor Anurag, have they also joined?
No, sir.
Sir, actually, I just now received message of Professor Anurag Deep. He is online on WhatsApp. He is saying, sir, he will join within 10 minutes because spontaneously Law Minister visited ILI. So within 10 minutes, the
Okay.
meeting is about to end,
All
so he
right.
will join.
Okay, then let him join after 10 minutes. In the meantime, we can start uh, as per the program. If
I think
Yes, sir.
he has joined. He has joined, I think.
oh, good. Welcome. It's welcome.
Yes. So I'm starting, sir. A very
Okay.
good evening to all. I am Simi Pal, faculty, St. Thomas College of Law. I feel privileged today to welcome our chief guest, Dr. Bharat Bhushan Prasoon. He's a senior advocate of Supreme Court and former judge, Punjab and Haryana High Court. I also extend my welcome to the guest of honor, Dr. Ritu Bhardwaj, advocate, Supreme Court, and Central Government Council on Panel, Supreme Court. And a heartful welcome to our guest speaker, Dr. Anurag Deep, Associate Professor, Indian Law Institute. Yes, okay, Professor. Professor Dr. Anurag Deep, Indian Law Institute. I also extend my welcome to Dr. K.S. Bhatti, Advisor, St. Thomas College of Law. Welcome to all the faculty members, my colleague, Mr. Dhananjay Kumar Mishra, Mr. Adnan Irshad, Dr. Neeti Sinha, and Mr. Fahim Khan. I heartily welcome all the students, all my dear students, and the audience for being part of this session. Before we begin this session formally, I would request Dr. K.S. Bhatti to formally welcome our guest. Sir,
Thank you, Professor Simi. Thank
thank
you
you,
very
sir.
much. I extend a very warm welcome to the Honorable Chief Guest, Honorable Mr. Justice Bharat Bhushan Prasoonji, the Senior Advocate of the Supreme Court, and Dr. Ritu Bhardwaj, a an AOR in the Supreme Court and a leader of the Supreme Court Bar Association, and Professor Anurag Deepji, an illustrious professor of law in the esteemed Indian Law Institute, and our esteemed faculty members, and all the dear students and other members, those who have been able to join or would be joining. It is a privilege to us, St. Thomas Law College, that these legal luminaries, they are with us and they will be sharing their wisdom and thought on a very, very sensitive issue, sensitive subject of the bill which is before the parliament relating to the trafficking in persons, prevention, care, and rehabilitation bill 2021. It's an important piece of legislation which is supposed to be made because it's going to deal that the vice of the malice and malady and a curse to the humanity is that certain people, those who are antisocial elements and those who are violators of the law of the nature, they indulge into the trading of the women and children and other persons, even the labor and the people, those who have nots. So the government has come out with the bill with the view to that the dignity of the women and the humanity, the children and the labor and other people, those who are coerced, those who are forced to be to fall into their net and they become their victim and they enslave them, they misuse them, they exploit them sexually, and they are treated like bonded labor because they are the poverty stricken people. They are the weakest of the society. At the same time, now I say the women, those who have been the soul of the humanity, they are mothers, they are sisters, they are the housekeepers, they are the managers of the family. They are now in the professional fields also, making their presence very, very, very strongly felt also. To think of that the women of the day, they are the judges, they are the minister, they are the administrator, they are the educator, they are the fighter, they are in the army, they are in the air force, they are in the navy, they are in almost all the fields which were previously always dominated by the men folk. All these fields have been now is peered into by the women of the country. And internationally also the women, we had the Hillary Clinton, we had the Golda Meir, we had Indira Gandhi, we had Bandar Naike, and lot many women, those who have led the society, who have led the nations, who have led the humanity. How can it be afforded by the human society that they are being traded as merchandise? How they can be subject to the objectification? How should be they subjected to the sexual criminality? This kind of things is a slur. This is a curse to the humanity that the 50% population of the mankind, they are subjected to a very, very abhorrent and cruel uh, uh, attitude and activities of the antisocial elements and gundas of the society. It is the responsibility not only of the government, it is the responsibility of the society at large, all men and women, those who are in the capacity, they are those who are able to, they have to protect the honor of our ladies, they have to protect the childhood of our children, they have to protect the interests of the people, those who are have not, they are poor and they earn their living bread and butter because of toiling, and they should not be bonded, they should not be coerced, they should not be exploited manually, physically, emotionally, financially, sexually. So this is the bill which aims at. So in our country, this is very very bad. The rapists are on the roads. The anti-gunda elements are on the road, and we are still feeling helpless. So now the law is here. Though of course some laws are there already. Bonded Labor Act is there. Prevention of harassment of women at the workplace is there. Certain laws are there, but still that the now the Parliament is having to consider a very draconian law. Also, is a draconian in the sense that it be, if a coerced person, exploited person is killed, is dead, then they can be hanged also, they can be imprisoned for life also, and then also punishment has been prescribed. Now the distinguished speakers and the intellectuals are with us. They will throw the light how this bill, what are the deficiencies, what can be the further improvements in the bill, which is to be brought about as a law, and that we'll have a. We are very grateful for their consenting to be in our midst and share their opinion, their advice, and guidance to the society and to the lawmakers by contributing. I suppose and I feel that whatever deliberations take place today, with the wisdom of the distinguished speakers, we will formulate a note, and that then we would like also to submit it to the government for consideration. I feel probably it will be a small but good contribution by the faculty members of this Thomas College of Law. I express our gratitude to the management of the St. Thomas College of Law, particularly our chairperson and our vice chairman, Professor S. C. Panda, a professor in the University of Delhi, and our very dynamic honorary director, Dr. Anuradha Amos, and other members of the managing committee of the St. Thomas Higher Education Society. They have given us all freedom, all guidance, all motivation, so that we are able to organize these kinds of program. We make which we can make our students also to be a very enlightened mind, and they will be immensely benefited by the wisdom and pulse of the distinguished speaker. With these words, I again extend a very warm welcome to the distinguished speakers and to all the audience on behalf of myself, on behalf of the faculty members of the St. Thomas College of Law, and all members of the management of this esteemed college. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Now I would like to request Mr. Dhananjay Mishra to briefly introduce our chief guest, Dr. Bharat Bhushan Parsoon. Ji.
Thank you, Simi ma'am. It's a really immense pleasure to introduce Justice Dr. Bharat Bhushan Parsoon ji, such a eminent legal luminary, and he is a former judge of the Punjab and Haryana High Court, Chandigarh, and now designated as a senior advocate of the Supreme Court of India, with 4 doctorates in his fold, which are PhD in law, PhD in management study, PhD in computer science and application, PhD in journalism and mass communications. Such a wonderful achievement of Justice Dr. Bharat Bhushan ji. He has also served as a judge over 35 years. He has to his credit innumerable research papers and book reviews. In his career, he has adjudicated on nearly every area of law and is considered as a master of corporate and private company and public, commercial and personal, constitutional and taxation laws alike. He is a life member of Indian Institute of Law, Delhi, New Delhi, and life member of Indian Institute of Criminology, Chennai, fellow of Indian Council of Arbitration, New Delhi, resource person for National Judicial Academy, Bhopal, as also for Delhi Judicial Academy and Chandigarh Judicial Academy, to name a few. A luminary, adjudicator, lawyer, strategic planner, tactical manager, academician, mentor, visionary, he has also scripted DNA of change, development and progress, reaching zenith in whichsoever field he traveled, and he is often referred to as a human encyclopedia. As on the date, he is legal consultant to many enterprises, company and joint ventures. Hospitality, pharmaceutical, reality, power and engineering sector, etc., are on his consultancy catalogs. I would like to quote one शायरी for Justice Pasoon ji. काम करो कुछ ऐसा कि एक पहचान बन जाए, काम करो कुछ ऐसा कि एक पहचान बन जाए, हर कदम ऐसा चलो कि निशान बन जाए, यहाँ जिंदगी तो हर कोई काट लेता है, जिंदगी जियो ऐसा इस कदर कि कोई मिसाल बन जाए. With this brief introduction, I would like to invite Justice Pasoon ji to enlighten us over the issue. Thank you so much, sir. Over to you, sir.
Welcome all. Welcome everyone. This evening, we are meeting intellectuals, elites, all over the subject experts, finding their position at the apex in their own fields. Our endeavor primarily is to make the students aware of the legal provisions, aware of the environment around them, so that they may grow, go ahead and support their careers in their lives, doing something for them, more for the nation and more for the international brotherhood. When we see our young generation and our parents and find the generation gap, India is the youngest country over the globe because we have big percentage of young people who are holding the fort, and they will go ahead taking that stride. Our biggest assets are the children, and still more our mothers, our sisters, and the Nari Shakti, as we say, the women power. Abraham Lincoln said, if you want to improve the nation, improve the child. At home in India, I add, if you want to improve the nation, improve the mother. So both ways, be it either children or be it the females, the women, they need empowerment, they need to go ahead with their achievements, making further inroads into the areas which were earlier reserved for male, and they are going ahead steadfastly. If we see the entire scenario, we need to find out that why we need such type of law. The Trafficking in Persons Prevention, Care and Rehabilitation Bill 2021 is in the bill form, not enacted as yet. We have been finding it endeavor of many, even at home in India. We found that Bachpan Bachao Andolan and many civil society groups campaigned for a strong law to curb menace of human trafficking. Human trafficking is rampant world over. It is a global menace. It is a heinous crime. It has worldwide ramifications. In 2017, thousands of trafficking survivors marched Bharat Yatras, where students, multi-faith leaders, government, judiciary, businessmen, civil society, everyone echoed the need of such stringent laws to curb the human trafficking, which was becoming more and more lethal in its applications. If we go a little more, though we have anti-trafficking policies well in place in India, and we were much ahead when we had in 1956 itself a legislation dealing with this subject. We now in COVID times particularly have felt that the entire system, the policies and the law, they had an effect of COVID-19 and cracks appeared here and there. We found the economic condition of the family is going unhealthy. Children not going to school, sitting home, playing on computers, studying on computers, and that created a lot of issues. And the cyber crimes and cyber trafficking also started in the garb of false hopes of jobs which never exist. Cyber crimes are providing incentives or loopholes to give more and more to the people in the allurement of money support system which never exist. This way, we find that COVID times was a testing times, and even still we are continuing passing through the same testing times, which are very, very challenging. But we need to make those challenges as opportunities so that we are able to create an atmosphere of support system. if we find what is the genesis of the present draft, we can see it on a global front that there was UN Convention Against Transnational Organized Crimes. It was adopted by the General Assembly on 15th of November 2000. It opened for signatures by member states at a high-level political conference convened for the said purpose in Palermo, it was in Italy, on 12th to 15th of December 2000. And it came into force on 29th of September 2003. To bring this into action, the 3 protocols came, one of which was protocol to prevent, suppress, and punish trafficking in persons, especially women and children. So this was the prime genetic factor which resulted in India also being a signatory to this convention and the protocol. And we started improving our legislative content. And finally, we have come up with this bill in 2021. These efforts from the angle of further support system, we have to implement these protocols into our municipal laws, our national laws. That is why we are making a change. In 2013, we had changed our Indian Penal Code also, adding 370 by substituting the earlier one, and also 372 section. Even 366A was amended and introduced by the new section. So that is how we have been supporting the cause. And if we see in India, we have a long legislative list. We were much ahead of the globe as we had the Immoral Traffic Prevention Act 1956. This was preventing for commercial sexual exploitation. We have Bonded Labor Regulation Act 1986, Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act 1986, Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act 2012, Article 23 of the Indian Constitution, which goes heavily against trafficking of human beings or persons. I must add it here that in constitutions we don't provide for offences to be reckoned with, and it is generally in penal codes. But Indian Constitution has an exception. There are 2 provisions with regard to offences. One is with regard to trafficking of human beings. The other one was with regard to untouchability. Such an important position was given to this offence that it came into our Indian Penal Code. As I have already told you, we had Criminal Law Amendment Act 2013, whereby Section 370 Indian Penal Code was amended. We have Prohibition of Child Marriage Act. We have Bonded Labor System Abolition Act, and even Transplantation of Human Organ Act 1984. And even at the state level, we have given our constitution as well as our parliament. We do not have that concentration. The state laws are also there. They can also make their additions. So we have Punjab Prevention of Human Smuggling Act 2012. And as I told you, we have Section 366A, kidnapping, and even selling a minor into prostitution. That is also one of the provisions in Indian Penal Code. So it doesn't mean that we were only dependent upon this bill and we didn't have anything else in our stock of legislations earlier. Even if we go by this bill in the present form, we go a little back, we find that efforts were made to have such legislation in 2016. But again, the policies as well as the marginalized groups, as well as the children and the women NGOs, they were not finding it perfect. And another bill came in 2018. That also was presented, and despite stiff opposition from many members connected with child helplines as well as women support systems, the bill was passed in the Lok Sabha, but it was never presented in the Rajya Sabha because there were many loopholes, and probably they didn't want that it should make another stiff resistance and may or may not be passed. But there were still improvements yet to be made. It is now claimed that the present bill primarily considers all the objections which were there in 2018 bill, which never became law. But even in this, we will take a little later. There are certain things which are bothering the particular segment of females as well as children, which is the main staple segment of the bill. Although it applies to all the persons and is not only confined to female sex, but still there are many things. Now, why we want this and why we have to do this, that is more important to see, because trafficking in persons is a serious crime and it is affecting the large number of people across the globe. And trafficking in human beings is a crime committed primarily to target or drive a human being into an exploitative situation with the aim to make profits. And human trafficking not only affects women and children, but also men. Such exploitation may take many forms: commercial sex exploitation, child labor, forced labor, bonded labor, or even illegal organ removal. That is called organ harvesting. And India is even otherwise now witnessing cross-border as well as internal country from one state to another trafficking. And in Asia, India as a country has become almost a hub for such type of crimes. So traffickers often exploit the vulnerabilities of people, as now in COVID times, because children are at home, females are finding their houses to run with great difficulty because of reducing income day by day. And what the vulnerable people get from them is a great bonanza of falsehoods. So they make false promises of new jobs, better income, better living condition, and better support to their families. Whereas such promise perpetrators, they appear to be legitimate, but they are not. Unfortunately, they make men, women, children, and the vulnerable segment as their targets. So once trafficked, the victim falls prey, and unfair treatment is meted out, forced prostitution, forced labor, forced begging, forced marriages, drug peddling, child pornography. All these things are bothering the society. Now, that is why we need a very strong law. And we, in the present legislation, are trying to find one. And this would be seen that the application and other efforts by making this law more prominently strict and more prominently viable, that is most important. So we are finding what actually is meant by trafficking. Many people have a very wrong notion of trafficking. Trafficking in women is not only confined to transporting a victim from one place to another for some illegal purposes to earn commercial gains or profits. Actually, comprehensive law is required to take all the facets of this crime, because if we see in the penal code, we find trafficking is recruitment, transportation, harboring, transferring, receipt of a person for exploitation by certain forceful means. But this is not enough. Facets of human trafficking are many. If we find it in a real perspective, it is sexual oppression, enslaved labor, sexual servitude, organ smuggling, slavery, and many more. In these circumstances, what this bill and how we have to do it. Now, what is the purpose of this bill? This is very important, because unless and until we understand the purpose of the bill or purpose of the entire legislative input, we will not be able to see how best we can find out the things to come in the best perspective. Because purpose is, we find that a global offense with worldwide ramifications of trafficking has become so organized that it is very difficult to unshackle it. And basically, the traffickers are more attuned to new and new methods. So we want to prohibit and combat this human trafficking. That is what this legislation, when comes up from bill to the law, will do. It basically provides assistance and safety to sufferers, and even broadens the geographical jurisdiction of crime involving cross-border effect. So to prevent and counter trafficking in person, especially women and children, this type of legislation is required. And the second most important facet of this bill is that it also provides for care, protection, and rehabilitation to victims while respecting their rights. And also creates a supportive legal, economic, and social environment for them. In these circumstances, we find that even application of this bill has been increased in many perspectives. It not only applies to whole of India, to all of its citizens, but it also has trans-border application. Even persons who are of Indian origin and are living outside India, if they are somehow or the other victimized, then the action will follow under this legislation. Even persons who commit crime under this act beyond India against Indian citizens, or even affecting interests of Indian citizens, or of even of India as a nation, they can also be hauled up. And it also is important to note that persons on any ship or aircraft registered in India, that aircraft should be registered in India. It may be anywhere, but if it is registered in India and it's carrying Indian citizen wherever they may be, that also is within the purview of this legislation which we are going to have. Even foreign nationals or stateless persons residing in India at the time of commission of crime are also included, including the persons with cross-border implications. So that is, the application has been greatly increased and a wide domain. Now, who is a victim? That is also important to see. Victim is a definition which we find even in CRPC, but we find that this definition which has been given in this particular bill is much more enlarged. So victims of this particular legislation, even their dependents are now covered. Not only dependents alone, but even any child born in the course of, or in furtherance of, or as a result of the offense committed under this act would be duly covered. And one more factor is there, it doesn't only apply to females, children, or even persons generally, but it also applies to transgenders. So it means it is a wholesome legislation which is thought of to give the best. So now I would come to some important features of this legislation, which are very prominent and not available in other enactments. Very important factor is that it is going to be a very effective and quite expeditious remedy it provides, because even investigations after registration of the case have to be completed within 90 days of the arrest of the person. And the investigations have been given to be conducted by a nodal agency, which is at the national level. It is the central agency, National Investigating Agency, which is the central authority looking into such offences and would be the nodaling effect on all the other state agencies as well. Now, range of offences has also been increased. Even people serving in defense, even government servants, even doctors, or even paramedicals, and anyone who is in position of authority, I say even lawyers, who are in close contact with their persons with them, who are dealing with them, and if they somehow or the other misutilize their position and in being in position of authority, try to be in any way, even in the periphery of this, they will be anyway connected with this, they will also be covered. So they have to be very, very particular about it. And severe punishments have been provided therein, because 7 years is the minimum. And if there is a heightened crime or repeat crime, the punishments have been increased considerably. And one thing more, because if some property has been purchased with such type of commission of the crimes, or some property has been used in commission of this crime, so that would also be a matter. That property would be attached and sold. And there is provision of National Anti-Trafficking Committee at the national level. At the state level, such committee would exist. Even at the district level, such committee would exist. And even with regard to welfare means, then there are children homes, then there are reformatories, then there are rehabilitation homes. Everything has been considered in its rights perspective, so that the worth and value of the nation in their children may be taken proper care. If we see the recent times, in just 10 minutes in COVID, we found 44 lakhs rescue calls given to Childline. It is India, it is a helpline. See, and every 8 minutes, we lose one child. It goes missing. So we have very effective legislations, but effectivity with regard to their implementation is not as good as is expected to be. So we need to be very, very positive with regard to the implementation. And in the end, I would also like to say there are certain things which are still wanting in this legislation. Because on the front of performance, we need to be very, very positive regarding case management, positivity with regard to less adjournments. And these are, of course, functional aspects, but structural aspects are also to be seen. Now, what is more important is that we are having some voices raised against this legislation from NGOs connected with child helplines and the welfare of the children. Even with regard to females, we are finding NGOs echoing their voice. Because what has been done is that the consensual sexual workers, or even they are having been joined and combined with the traffickers, a line of distinction has to be drawn. Because if there was a recent judgment by Bombay High Court also, where they said that prostitution has to be considered in its perspective where it is taken as an avocation. I'm not going to support or reject or whatsoever. My only plea is this, that there has to be a demarcation between a consensual sexual performance and the forced trafficking. So it has to be drawn a very clear distinction so that the implementation is not with regard to the poor consenting persons also now, because we have a live-in relationship also having been allowed in Domestic Violence Act. So it must not be competitive with the other. It should be rather accommodating, or rather it should be in line with other legislations. Because otherwise, this type of arrangement would also have some cracks. Secondly, we also need to have a bare, close look that the legislation, when it comes into effect, it has provided even death sentence for aggravated repeat offenses. The history, even in India and globally, is replete that severity of punishment has never brought down the crimes. It is the implementation and the thought process and the debates and discussions and awakening among the people. Now just see that this legislation has given only 2 weeks for public opinion to be formed. 2 weeks is too less a period. And moreover, this bill has not been translated into regional languages, much less even in Hindi. So it has not reached people who are really meaning to have the harvesting of benefits of this legislation. They are the persons who need to discuss, debate, and have brainstorming on this. That is lost now. What the Ministry of Women and Child Development gave us only 2 weeks. So 2 weeks is too short a period, and when it is not even available, translated into regional languages. Then there are a few more things which need to be observed. That the trial has also to get a limited period, that it has to be completed within a limited period. And many role models and many people who are stakeholders, they will have to intervene with their positive participation. Now, if NGOs and other helping groups of female children and even forefront runners, if they are not coming forward, debating, discussing, and finding the things in order, then the situation would be the same as we had in 2018 and 2016. So it is not only that we are participants and signatories to the international conventions that we have to do it. It is our national necessity as well. And rather, as I have told you, in our constitution, we have this particular trafficking as one of the offenses, providing a place of its reprehensibility in the constitution itself. So that is how we need to debate, discuss. It is a very good move of the management of this college. I must appreciate that the college has taken such a topic. It would be discussed, debated among the students, among the teachers, and among the people who are coming to your legal aid clinics, and your students merging and meeting with people. They will be able to have a consensus or at least some good points emerge. And Mr. Bhatti has already told that whatsoever contribution, I think it will be a great contribution. I have been attending many seminars, webinars, and others, but I have never found it has not yet found any college or university have done this type of program. So I must congratulate you all, and always I feel I would be one of the participants moving with you in all your thought processes, in all your programs, discussion, and brainstorming. If ever you call me, I would always be available. And I am very thankful to all of you that you gave me an occasion to speak and to be one with you. So nice of you. Thank you very much. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for such enlightening and very, very comprehensive lecture. Thank you, sir. Thank you, dear sir.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Professor Anurag Deep has joined our webinar. Sir was very busy in some meeting, and sir is my teacher. He has guided me. So, respected sir, most welcome to you, sir. Over to you, sir. And thank you, Justice Dr. Bharat Bhushan. It was a pleasure to listen to you.
Mr. Anurag's absence made me to speak first. Otherwise, the presiding person always speaks the last. It is never in the front. It is only the key speaker who speaks in the first. He is the opening batsman. And the chief guest is the last one to speak over all the functions over.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Uh,
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I would request Dr. Neeti Sinha to please give a brief introduction of our guest of honor, Ms. Ritu Bhardwaj.
Yeah. Thank you, Simi ma'am. Respected our chief guest for today's webinar, Dr. Bharat Bhushan Prasoon, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court and former judge. Respected our guest of honor, Dr. Ritu Bhardwaj, Advocate, Supreme Court, Central Government Council on Panel, Supreme Court, and our guest speaker for today's webinar, Dr. Anurag Deep, Associate Professor, Indian Law Institute, New Delhi.
Ma'am,
Our
sir is
advisor, Sir
professor.
Dr.
Sir is
K.S.
professor.
Bhati, and our faculty colleagues and dear students. It's a great day for all of us that we have been participating in this such a good topic and intellectual and informative webinar on this sensitive issue, on this sensitive topic of the society. So I feel privileged to give introduction of our guest of honor, Dr. Ritu Bhardwaj. Dr. Ritu Bhardwaj has 17 years of rich experience in Supreme Court of India and Delhi High Court. She has represented the central government, many corporations, national banks, law and medical colleges, local authorities, and state government. She did her PhD in law in 2012 in criminal law and has been working as a visiting faculty in many prestigious universities and for the Center for Constitutional Parliamentary Studies in Delhi. She is a secretary of the Legal Assistance Forum, which provides free legal aid to needy children, especially juveniles and women. She is on the panel of Amicus Curiae in Supreme Court of India, PSUs, state and central government, Department of Ship Corporation, Oil Corporation, etc. She has been a convener of the Supreme Court of India Committee for Gender Sensitization and still a volunteer for the same. She has also taken training classes of Delhi Police on gender sensitization. She served as an elected executive member of the Supreme Court Bar Association for the year 2019 and 2020. She is presently joint treasurer of the Supreme Court Bar Association. We welcome you, ma'am, in this webinar, and we are very keen to hear from you on this sensitive issue. Please, ma'am.
Thank you so much. And I'm very thankful to Dr. K.S. Bhati ji because he has given me this opportunity to speak about this topic, which I can discuss, although Sir has already explained almost everything about the bill and nothing much is left. But yes, of course, there are few things which I really wanted to mention about this bill. I hope I am audible. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So there are few things which I really wanted to mention, and the draft actually, as Sir said, that it had come in 2018, but they were in a, and now it is tabled in a monsoon session of Parliament. So actually, when especially I have been working in this field for child and women welfare from so long, my NGO is also working for regarding this only. And we had, as even Bhati sir also with us, and we had been working for these juveniles when and poor women who could not take any of the legal help from anybody. And we organized so many camps, and we had literally filed writ petitions in different states where we could help these people to have juvenile homes for these poor women. And we got the success also, as even Bhati sir must be remembering. I mean, he was with us all the time. He is a great man and he had been working in this field. I really want to talk about this bill, especially I throw a light on this bill regarding students, what they should understand. Students should understand that why this bill actually came to the picture. Why do we need it? Why there were so many, as sir has also explained, that there were so many laws, so many acts which were already introduced in our country and which are already going for. Then why do we need this bill? Human trafficking is a crime which we can say it is more of a slavery which was accepted as an economic practice, and traditional form of slavery is already gone. It is extinct from the society. But what is happening? The modern kind of slavery has come into the society. Now, what is the modern kind of slavery? Trafficking and forced labor in the country is there for the because of these poor families who are suffering, and which was noted by so many socialists who found, like Kailash Satyarthi ji, who about whom Bachpan Bachao is concerned. There is already going on, but Sister Concern he had opened, and he found that is still trafficking in persons which need to be taken care of, as rehabilitation process was not there earlier, and that is why he wanted that this kind of bill should be introduced, and which can be help for these children, especially also about the women, because according to the data, if we see that there are more than 9,000 children who were trafficked in this period of corona period. 260 were replicas from the train, buses, factories, along with law enforcement agencies since the beginning of the pandemic from across the entire country. So this period was the worst period, where there was no place to go. I myself, being a advocate, I received so many calls from so many places. We had filed two of the petitions also for two of the females, where they had no place to go in this corona period. Because as per the crime, if we notice, even if we go through this National Crime Records Bureau, the total number of child victims of trafficking is going up only year on year. Like if we say in 2018, there were almost 2,837. And in 2019, it had reached to 2,914. Another, it has growth of, that means we can see there is almost a growth of 2.8%. So when we see these, and this is not only in metropolitan cities, there you will find such cases are happening even at the small places. So when it was noticed by all the socialists, all by the police record, all by the crime records, it was found that the Rajasthan, Delhi, Odisha, Kerala, Madhya Pradesh, they were the prime states where it was going on. And existing anti-trafficking laws which are there, we can talk about IPC, like earlier we were only talking about section 370 and 370A of IPC, as we are law students here. So we should talk about the sections first. Earlier we were talking about these sections in criminal, and there was a criminal law amendment also which came, as sir has said, it came in 2013. And after this, we have even after that we have noticed that there was increase by 14.3% in 2019 year itself, and it was the worst even after that. So what the main reasons why the exploitation and trafficking of most of the children and women take place are, what are the kinds of it? First, you should understand there is the forced labor, there is a prostitution, there are domestic servitudes, there is forced marriage, there are also petty crimes, then there is a child pornography, then there is a begging, then the other is drug peddling, then the removal of organs, and there are so many. Illegal immigration was really high before this corona period, but it was due to the non-movement of people. This was not that much noticed in this corona period. Otherwise, that was also one of the main concern amongst the women and children, especially, that there was a lot of illegal immigration of these people. Now, why do we need? Why this? We need to introduce this bill, as I was talking earlier. India has, first of all, we had made this commitment, international commitment, where we were talking about that the India is it should achieve the, I should say, the international standards. So international standards were what? That we are going to eradicate forced labor, we are going to eradicate the modern slavery, we are going to eradicate exploitation and trafficking of all forms of violence against children and also women. And we had mentioned in this our what we should say, what we made the international commitments. We wanted to improve the situation everywhere, and we wanted that these trafficking, what the most cases are committed by organized criminal syndicates, what it is, therefore it needs to be in a comprehensive manner. What is comprehensive manner? Like Supreme Court had also taken the cognizance of Government of India. Now, what they had started, like if you will go through one of the citation, which is Prajwala versus Union of India and others. I really want that the students should note down my citations and they should go through these judgments, because if you are really reading this bill, you should know how it has proceeded, how it was handled by the court earlier, and now how we have reached to the new bill which we are going to introduce in the parliament, and why it should not be or why it should be. Here in this matter, what is the Prajwala versus Union of India, it was filed by Ministry of Women and Child Development, and it was the first time on the Honorable Supreme Court they took the cognizance of Government India plans, and they wanted to know that the trafficking in persons is going, and why it is like, why it has not been noticed by the ministry, and how it can be proved, what laws should be introduced to prevent this kind of trafficking. So current legal framework, if we talk about, number of laws are existing. Like you will go, as I've already explained to you about IPC, you should go through the section of 370 and 370A of IPC. Then you should read Immoral Traffic Prevention Act of 1956, that is ITPA. It was amended in 1986. Then you should go through the Bonded Labor System Abolition Act 1976. Then you should go through Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Amendment Act 2016. If you really want to understand, you should also go through Juvenile Justice Act, which was in 2015 it had come, and the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences, which was 2012. Prohibition of Child Marriage Act also we can go through 2006 Act. Each of these laws independently, they have their own enforcement machinery. They have their own penalties for the offences related to trafficking. Then, in such situation, why do we need the new bill? First of all, I really want to say that in my view, this kind of a bill, whatever it has been introduced or they are going to introduce in the parliament, that is a separate issue. But the existing laws, only if they are amended well, and if we really carry forward them with the new amendments, I think they are more than enough, because the implementation is more necessary rather than all these new bills. Ministry of Women and Child Development has put in the public domain in trafficking in persons, which aims to, now what the bill is talking about, it aims to prevent and counter trafficking in persons, especially women and children. Why? Because they want to provide the care, protection, and rehabilitation to the victims, like respecting their rights and creating a supportive legal system for them. Now, if we really see, then we have to ensure prosecution of offenders and for matters connected therewith to incidental thereto. That means what? If there are really such kind of trafficking is going on, then these should be checked, and not only checked, they should be punished And after that, there should be rehabilitation also for these victims. The draft bill is the improved version, which was introduced in 2018, as I said. Scope is broader only now in this new bill. How it is broader? Now, you should again write in the points how it is broader in this bill, is why it is broader now. It is broader because it is considering the transgenders, it is considering the stateless people, it is considering crimes not only committed inside the country but also outside the country. So when we see that it includes even the crime of cross border, that means the implications will also be there in cross border trafficking. The revised bill, it also introduces the penalties and provides now this, the new thing which they have introduced is now it will be only investigation will be by the National Investigation Agency, which is NIA. The bill proposes that there should be establishment of national, state, and district anti-human trafficking committees. Now, what was happening here? We are talking that earlier it was done only on the level of police, and then after police it used to be court, and then court used to decide and they used to be punished. But in this bill, we are talking about 3 state committees also, which they are saying for the effective implementation of this act, we need these committees which can look all over to the country that how the trafficking is taking place, whether it has been taken place or not, how the victim should be helped, how there should be, if the inquiry or the investigation is going on, then how the victim should be saved, or I should say in the saved kind of environment, the investigation should go on. There should be no harassment to the victim. So that is why this bill has proposed 3 levels of committees, which is a good, we can say that it is a good proposal. But still, I am of the view that with these committees, they had to make the police organization stronger. They had to introduce more of the department, more of the staff to this department. They had to introduce or start, or they had to call for the interviews for more of the female constables or the lower level officers. They had to give employment to all those agencies which they are helping, like if NGOs, they had to include those NGOs which are really working for, we should say, about the upliftment of such kind of victims. They had to, but if we really consider it, police organization is really playing very important role into it, and they have to be made strong by this bill, which is missing. I found that. One more thing that what the proposal deals in this bill about the rescue, safety, and reintegration of the survivor. Suppose the victim has survived, then how these 3 things has to be taken place. Whereas in this committee, they have broadened, although in present bill, because they are talking about labor, slavery, sexual servitude, or organ smuggling, or even whatever the categories I had already told you in the beginning. Those, if we see in Immoral Traffic Act, that was 1956, it was combining the human trafficking and prostitution, taking away the interests and concerns of consensual adult sex laborer. They were not, they used to combat only apparent prostitution by imprisoning the accused females and limiting her liberty also, taking away her discretion. So the discretion was taken away by that act. Now, if you will understand, being a law student, you should know that it makes no clause for rehabilitation and reimbursement or any kind of medical services to these recovered females earlier. But in what happened in September 2020, there is a judgment which came, Kajal Mukesh Singh, you should note it down, Kajal Mukesh Singh and others versus the state of Maharashtra. That was criminal writ petition C6065 of 2020. So Bombay High Court reaffirmed that the prostitution is not a crime, and so and the adult female has the freedom to decide her own profession. It further stated that there is no component in the legislation that deems prostitution is a penal crime in or if of itself. In the previous couple of years, there have been numerous requests for the abolition of ITPA based on its constitutional legitimacy, and it's high time to replace our old law, which I feel that is very correct. There has to be either some amendment. I have already told you these old laws really need amendments. Whether bills are coming or not coming, that's a separate issue. But these old laws, they really need amendments because there are so many lacunas which now, according to the time, government has to think about it, the lawmakers, they have to think about it. So the purpose of the current draft, you should understand what is the purpose. It is to prohibit and combat human trafficking while providing even assistance with the safety to sufferer by broadening the geographical areas. They have now reached from inside the country to cross borders. They have not only saved our own people who are inside the territory, they have now saved the people even who are outside the country. That means the overseas residents who are really suffering abroad when they are suffering from such kind of trafficking, and stateless people who are residing in India, they will be also helped by this kind of uh, victim. As such, if we talk about victim, Sir has already given a very good definition of a victim, which has now expanded what I have already told you to the transsexual people also, as well as females and juveniles also. This was one of the very bad situation. We had visited so many jails while doing our NGO work, and we had seen the poor situation, poor condition over there. But later on, with so many NGOs working for those, for police organization working for them, high court orders, with so many high court orders, situation has become now far better. And there are new laws in 2015, like I told you, the act has come for juveniles, so it has helped a lot. And if we talk about bill again, bill, it is a, we should say, if it has two categories. One is trafficking and other is types of trafficking. So now first having a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison, and the charges of 1 lakh rupees. And if we talk about the second type of trafficking, in which it reaches to more than 30 lakh rupees capital punishment. So the bill provides for the formation of national anti-trafficking committees as well as bodies at the state and district levels, as I have already told you. And of course, they have not like rehabilitative provisions were not provided in earlier sections, in neither in 370 nor in Money Laundering Act also 2002. It was not given, and monetary penalties which were not enforced, and property acquired through such earnings and utilized for trafficking can also be seized now. This is again a good point. So additionally, what we can talk about is, one of the best thing about is that they have now limited the period. Period means the investigation must be completed within 90 days. So 90 days, if offenders should be arrested, the draft will also confess the issues of sex labors, prostitution, pornography, whatever the situation, types of trafficking is going on, the investigation has to be concluded within 90 days. And if it is passed by Parliament, of course, it is going to be a landmark in dealing with the complex crime of trafficking. But we should see some of the points which they could see, or which they could even improve in the bill. Like if we really see NIA, how is it is going to help us the faster arrest of offenders will be there or not, we do not know. Then there is strict punishment to the perpetrator. If the victim of trafficking is a child, then aggravated crime has to be with the stricter punishment or not, that has to be again seen. Then online trafficking, what sir has already explained, this online trafficking, this bill includes a provision. So physical movement or the transportation of victim is not necessary to define the crime of trafficking. One again, the provision of protection homes for immediate protection of victims and rehabilitation of homes for long term. These people will help the victims to come out of the trauma. This I will again explain to you in a better way. Recently, we had assisted one of the senior advocate for such kind of matter in Supreme Court, where PIL was not filed actually, by the incident only. Impromptu, the court has taken that as a PIL, and they had even taken this case against the dead victim. How much problems are there for the victim when we wanted to bring the victim from the other state and we wanted to save her life, and how we wanted to save her somewhere where we could keep her and we could keep her alive. It was really a nightmare, I should tell you. It was really a nightmare because there was no place where she should be saved, where she should be kept, how she should be saved from such wounds, I should say, and how which there, when there is a interstate border cases and you are bringing somebody from the other state to this state, there are so many formalities. There is a change of a police, there is a change of departments, there is a change of courts, there is lot of responsibility on the government of both the sides, although. But still, with all these, we had to mention to the court that how to save the victim and where to keep the victim. So those kinds of problems, I think they are really going to be solved now, because victim immediately you cannot take the interview of a victim, that what happened with you, how you were suffering and what were your sufferings. This makes very, I should say, they are not in a state to express themselves. They are not in a state to give any kind of statement. They are not in a state of overcome about their problems, because they have gone through the hard period. So I really feel in that way the bill has really worked out, and if this way the separate protection and rehabilitation centers are provided to all kind of transgenders or females or children or whosoever is there, it is a good step. And victim is not dependent on criminal proceedings and not even on the outcome also. Rehabilitation has to begin immediately the moment FIR is registered. So the bill, I hope so, this is going to take care about this, especially because that is the most required at that time. Will also provide him about the immediate relief to be given to the victim within 30 days of filing of FIR. This immediate relief might be, it can be about the compensation also, it can be about awarding something to the victim to take care of herself or himself, whosoever the person is. And bill makers they have de-tracking the aggravated from the tracking with higher punishments of not less than 10 years, which is real good, uh, what I should say, the step towards the welfare of these people. And fine, which has they have made up to 10 lakh rupees, again it is welcome. Women, children, physically and mentally, if they are disabled person, they will be given extra protection. This is again one of the very good points which has been presumption of offences which they have taken. This means that the victims, women, children, physically and mentally disabled persons are also included in this bill. So they have to they will be taken care by the state, that means, and it is presumed that if even the committed the crime or during the trial, if something happens, then they are going to be assisted by the state. So again, to crush crime syndicates and trafficking, the bill provides a lot of assistance like attachment, forfeiture of property, bank accounts of the accused, all will be taken by the government. That is really good again. And proceeds of crime collected and accumulated by traffickers will be used for relief and rehabilitation. This is a good, I should say, this is real good step, because sometimes it is also a problem for the funds, that how they have to be taken care of. And if we, this, what I was very happy about it, that this bill is very, this has got child friendly features. The bill has, it has various provisions for the benefit of children. It broadly aligned with the JJ Act 2015, Section 8. They have kept in mind, with the help of PRIs, the children who are drop out from the schools, and those children who are covered by the various schemes have been stopped assessing the benefits of those schemes to prevent trafficking. This will also assist them for the indirect benefit of preventing children from dropping out of the schools, which was earlier, which was very common. The moment it used to start, the children used to stop going to school. But this kind of constant monitoring, of course, it is going to help such kind of people. The bill also protects, rehabilitates, and child victims of trafficking. It also provides for development of individual care plan, which is very necessary for the care and protection. Another thing which I found good in this is that they are engaging social workers and support persons from local areas, although they are taking. But yes, few sections, as I told earlier, they have left police organization like. Other thing is that they are providing for Aadhaar enrollment of persons deemed vulnerable for their effective identification. Suppose if there is like especially useful for children, because they sometimes they are not even identified and they are open to this kind of trafficking. So such things are going to help the bill. But there are something which as I said, some of the existing laws are already covering many of the things, and we are repeating many of the things in this bill. Like, for example, NIA as a leader to take up the investigation in trafficking cases. This need to define the role of the local police and also the SJPUs, which is Special Juvenile Police Units. They had to be covered by with this bill. They have also not covered child welfare police officers in case of children. And what NIA is authority to combat cross-border human trafficking, although it is going to help. But on the other hand, if we see, it is going to burden them for incorporating NIA authorities for such investigation. Suffers goes against the concept of ideal interest of the juvenile, because might be they do not know what is the interest of the juvenile. So proposed bill had to go on line to line with the juvenile justice statutes. 2015 they had to take it, which they have not taken. And another thing is that draft bill has been provided only in English. So the bill should be translated to in the different languages so that it can reach to normal people. And normal people, I mean to say those people who cannot read